Pregame.com.
March Madness continues. Saturday action, Elite Eight. We've got Florida and Louisville battling it out. He's Scott Spreitzer. I'm Marco D'Angelo. We're going to break this one down for you. Scott, I got to start this one. I was totally dead wrong on Florida in their last game. I took Marquette, and I bought into it for the reason, and I'm still going to stand by it. For a 7 seed, Florida's had the easiest route to where they're at, starting with a team. They played Virginia from the ACC that if Virginia was in any other conference, they wouldn't even have got a bid this year. They were horrible down the stretch, but, you know, it's a power conference. They got to take so many teams out of there. I didn't think Virginia was a good ball club. They rolled them, and then they caught a huge break, Norfolk State after Missouri. I mean, I think you, me, Brian Leonard, and 2 other guys might have had a run at Norfolk that day. Because
they'd never get in the paint. They'd never get in the paint. Denial, baby.
I don't know if we could go back and forth, though, up and down the court.
Well, we're making a half-court game.
But
8-foot baskets.
Hey, I got a vertical leap of 2 inches. Oh boy, we got off subject here. Yep. Now here's the situation. Florida, they surprised me. That was a statement game against Marquette, and they played amazing defense. They held Marquette to 30.8, you know, from the field. Anytime you hold a team to that bad of a shooting night, you should win. Are they for real?
That's the tough. I mean, I didn't take them against Virginia. I left that game alone, but I did go on Florida when they played Norfolk State. And I played them again against Marquette. And by the way, I did have Michigan State on the video that I did with VR. I had Michigan State over Louisville on that particular video. We didn't bet it. We didn't release it. But still, the bottom line was I was shocked at how easily Louisville controlled the tempo. But as far as your question on Florida, are they for real? Well, you know, they've allowed 95 points in the first 2 games that they played in the tournament, albeit against Virginia, as you mentioned, and Norfolk. And then now through 3 games, they've held the opponents to 31.5% shooting from the floor overall and 20.6% from area code 3. One of the things that they've done also very well thus far is rebounding. They've crashed the boards. They've out-rebounded those 3 teams by an average of 10 rebounds per game. So they're not giving up a lot of second chances right now, besides the fact that they're clamping down on the first chance looks. But, you know, the big thing for me is, and I talked about this when we spoke about the Louisville-Michigan State game the other day, way back in December, I had written an article about Louisville being the most overrated team in the top 25, not in basketball, but in the top 25. They were, I think, 3rd at the time. And it also said that by March, this is going to be a tough out. This team's going to be a tough out. They're going to be very good, has a good shot at making a deep run. At the time, I didn't like them. One of the reasons that I thought they were struggling early on and going to have a hard time as they went into conference play and then come around in the second half of the season was Peyton Silva, was giving them a lack of leadership in the early going against the big teams when their schedule stepped up. And remember, they lost 4 or 5 games after starting that first loss that they had against Georgetown in mid-December, late December, and then they lost 4 out of 5. I remember Silva had a 2 of 13 night, one of the losses. He had as many turnovers as assists, which were 5 against Notre Dame. Just really struggled at times. He had 2 points and 1 assist from your starting point man in that 21-point 80-59 loss to Providence. So he really has been a better player, more efficient. His last 7 games, he's been much better. He's been averaging about 14 points per game, and his assist total is up 14 points per game in the 5 games going into that New Mexico contest. He had 9 assists against Michigan State. So he's been a much better, much more rounded leader on the court. That's what makes Louisville that much more dangerous. That's what Florida's going to have to deal with. The Gators have yet to have to deal with a team that can be big inside, or at least physical inside, and have a decent backcourt at the same time. They faced Marquette. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get more of a guard look. They faced Norfolk. Well, come on. Yeah. It's a bad team. Not a bad team, but it's a lower class team, and it's off of a win over Missouri. And against Virginia, you hit it on the head. I'm a Tony Bennett fan, not so much that I like seeing low-scoring games, but that he is a very disciplined coach, and the players are disciplined.
You were talking about the singer, right?
Yeah, well, I love Tony Bennett. But anyway, this Tony Bennett, you know, I mean, he's left his heart on or his recruits, as far as shooters are concerned, on the trail because he doesn't have a good offensive scheme. He has his teams play great defense, and so Florida matched up well in those games. They don't match up quite as well in this game, obviously.
Well, a couple stats here. Louisville this year, after the win over Michigan State, and, you know, hey, I did a video on that game too, and I had Michigan State as well. They're now 7-0 this year on neutral courts. The reason that I liked going with Michigan State is I thought that the team, Izzo, he always schedules a hard schedule. He opened the season with Duke and North Carolina. I mean, he doesn't duck anybody. I thought his team would be better prepared. Let's give Louisville credit. I mean, they played one hell of a game last night. They surprised me. And I think the one stat that I had that, made me lean to Michigan State, so I'm going to bring it up. It was 2-9 the other night. It's now 3-9. It's still a good stat, but they won. They defied it. Since Pitino has been at Louisville, when he's an underdog on a neutral court, he was 2-9. He's now 3-9. So just throwing that stat out there. We did a video last week, Brian and I did, where we talked about what we've learned and different things moving forward as the tournament progresses. And the public becomes more involved. I mean, let's face it, this is a time of the year that the average player is more involved that never plays. It's March Madness. They got their office pools, or they're here in Vegas for the weekend. They're going to bet the games nonstop. And they handicap with what they see with their eyes. They're going to look at last night's two games that were both, half-court, hard defense, paint dry games, and they're going to look at this over-under. They're going to bet the under, and Vegas knows that, and I think Vegas has actually over-adjusted this over-under. And I know if you watch the two games on Thursday night, you're going to think I'm an idiot for what I'm playing here.
That's not why I think you're an idiot.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Brian bent me over in the first video.
Mark, I like you, but it had to be. I mean, it was a lob. I had to hit it out of the park. I'm sorry.
You did. Sorry you got sloppy seconds after Brian. But the situation here is this is a game that they're going to pound the under, the public. I'm going over. And when you're handicapping the games, there's two different preparations. The Thursday game, they've had 4 or 5 days to prepare their game plans and how they're going to attack. Now the coach has got to turn around. They got a 24-hour period to set their game plan and set it up. And I think it changes everything. Florida does not want to get in a half-court game with this team. That is Louisville's strength. I think Florida's going to come out and force the tempo. And we've got an over-under of 131.5. I'm projecting that this game's going to hit 136 or more. I'm going to make the over my video best bet of the week. And I forgot to give Dustin the coupon, and that the coupon code is going to be under 10, so we'll give him time to get that up on the screen.
I'm going to go with you, by the way. I mean, I think the over is the way to go.
Over 10 is the coupon because we're going over.
I was going to say, you really confused me because...
Sorry about that.
But you know what? Our idiotic minds must think alike, because I like the over here also. If I'm going to play the total, and you're going to hear a lot of the stats coming out the stat heads, and I respect that also, that style of handicapping, but you're going to hear about all the underruns that Louisville's on in these particular situations that take place in this game. But here's again, they got the big shot blocking forward inside. But you're right, Florida, if they get into the half-court kind of contest that Michigan State tried to play, then Florida is going to have their problems. But I think Billy Donovan, not to say that he's smarter than Tom Izzo, but Billy Donovan is the kind of coach who's probably not going to let that happen no matter what. And, I saw a couple of times when there were 2 or 3 timeouts left at a half where Izzo, I thought, could have called the timeout. We heard in one particular game the other day, I think on Thursday, where Wisconsin was playing Syracuse, and the announcer said it was 33-23 at the time in favor of the Cuse, and they had just got on like a 9-0 run. And the announcer said, with 2 minutes to go in the half, Wisconsin could lose this basketball game right here if they don't call a timeout. Well, they were fortunate. They didn't call a timeout. I'm looking at the screen. I think they had 3 timeouts left at the time, at least 2. And they got fortunate. They ended up losing the game anyway. But I'm watching that with Michigan State again. I'm kind of watching the game like, man, just use it. Yeah. It's now or never. You go home if you don't win this game. And you could feel situations where Michigan State, even when they had cut it to 3 or 4 late in the second half, or 6-7 minutes to go, when they gave up 5 in a row. I remember they cut it to 5 from an 11-point game, and then Louisville ran it up to like 11 or 12 in about the next 2 minutes. It was a real fast 6 or 7-0 run, and again, they didn't call the timeout to break up the flow of the game. So I think you're going to see, though, I think you will see the over in this contest. I think you're going to see a lot of people talking about the under in this one, but yeah, I'd have to go with the over before the under. And I like the way Peyton Silva's playing basketball right now compared to the way he was before the turn of the new year.
The other point, too, when you're coming back from the Thursday game to the Saturday, when you're playing the second game, the short turnaround, you got a little more of a fatigue factor. And I've always been that it takes more energy to play defense than it does to play offense. And I just think they're going to force the tempo more, and you're going to see, and we're about value. We're trying to find where the value's at. I think the value here, this line is way too low. Jump on it and go with the over. And that's going to be my video best bet. Any closing thoughts before we?
Yeah, you hit something there that I wanted to mention, and you reminded me of it, and that's when you said that, about the fatigue factor. And I would think Billy Donovan, as coach of Florida, is going to do his best to increase the tempo in this one because Louisville's bench is so short. They are playing better basketball than they did 2 months ago, but they still only go 6 deep for the most part. So I think, what you just said kind of reminded me of what I wanted to say about Donovan. Got to push the tempo a little bit. Got to make Louisville run a little bit, play defense. And as you said also, when you're worn out, it tends to hurt you on the defensive end. Your legs get a little bit rubbery. So I think you're on the right spot. I was going to say the right side, but I'll say the right total.
There you go.
I like the over also.
All right. There it is, my video best bet of the week. And every week when we do the video best bet, we give you a coupon. It's good for $10 off. When you go to the checkout, just punch in over and the number 10. Over and the number 10 all together. That will get you $10 off your order. If it happens to be a $10 pick package, it's free, but RJ doesn't let that happen too often. But you get a nice discount anyways. And I want to congratulate Scott too. You've been on a nice run, my man. Welcome to pregame. You've been doing videos with us for quite some time, but we finally got you selling, and boy, what a way to come through the door. So kudos to you, sir.
Been real nice. Thanks a lot. I just wanted to say also, I'm glad you said that because I wanted to thank everybody for welcoming me on the forums, and saying welcome to pregame for the most part. And it's been very gracious, the welcome to pregame, all you guys, and we hope to keep that run going. It's been nice so far. I'm going to tell you right now, I've got one guarantee for you. We are hitting 84% the last 8 days. Next year at this time, our record will not be 84% winners. I'm just going to promise you that one. I'll guarantee that one. I'll go out on a limb.
Yeah, and when they gave you your orientation, did they explain to you that you have to slip me $100 now for that plug?
They did tell me either $100 or worth its weight in donuts. So.
All right, okay. I got another one thrown at me. You've been under the tutelage of Brian Leonard. He's Scott Spreitzer. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Stay tuned to pregame.tv for all of your March Madness coverage. And if you want to see me get my stones busted every video, that's the place to go. Good luck this weekend, guys.